What if everything you were taught about religion wasn't the full truth? What if the real essence of spirituality was deliberately hidden to keep humanity trapped in cycles of control? Today, we're diving deep into the wisdom of Billy Carson and 4 Biddenknowledge, uncovering how mainstream religion has misled us, and how true spirituality offers freedom, empowerment, and connection beyond the limits of dogma. Stay tuned, because by the end of this video, you'll see the difference between religion and spirituality with new eyes. Throughout history, religion has been less about divine connection and more about centralized control. Kings, emperors, and institutions often used religious texts to justify wars, hierarchy, and unquestioned obedience. Billy Carson points out that much of the original wisdom, cosmic truths, ancient science, and universal laws, was stripped away or distorted. Instead, what was left behind was a framework designed to keep people dependent on religious leaders rather than cultivating their own spiritual power. True spirituality teaches self-mastery, responsibility, and direct connection to higher consciousness. But organized religion often instilled fear of eternal punishment, guilt, and shame, making people easier to manipulate. The lie wasn't in the divine itself, but in how it was packaged and delivered. When you peel back the layers of control, you begin to realize spirituality isn't about submitting, it's about awakening. This revelation shifts the entire perspective, showing how humanity has been intentionally kept from its own divine potential. Religious institutions often present sacred texts as literal, unchangeable words of God. But when you dig deeper, you discover layers of allegory, symbolism, and advanced knowledge hidden in plain sight. Billy Carson highlights that ancient scriptures from Sumer, Egypt, and India carry cosmic wisdom about energy, frequency, and the multidimensional nature of the universe. Yet much of this was rewritten or filtered to fit political agendas. For example, stories that once described star beings, advanced civilizations, and universal laws were recast into rigid narratives of sin, obedience, and redemption. Spiritual truths about meditation, vibration, and the power of thought were minimized or removed altogether. What survives are fragments, hints of deeper knowledge that religions often discourage people from exploring independently. True spirituality asks us to question, to research, and to look within for answers, while religion often discourages curiosity and labels independent seekers as heretics. Recognizing this difference opens the door to rediscovering humanity's forgotten wisdom and reconnecting with the universe on a much higher level. At its core, true spirituality operates on love, unity, and compassion. Yet many religions have conditioned people to operate from fear of hell, fear of sin, fear of questioning authority. Fear keeps people small, obedient, and disconnected from their inner power. Billy Carson often emphasizes that this programming isn't accidental, it's a tool of control. Spirituality, on the other hand, teaches that the universe is abundant, loving, and interconnected. Instead of looking outside for salvation, true spirituality encourages individuals to cultivate inner peace, raise their frequency, and align with universal laws. The greatest lie religion perpetuates is that you are separate from the divine and unworthy without intermediaries. The truth is, you are inherently connected to source energy. By replacing fear with love, you free yourself from the mental prison created by dogma. When you embrace love as the foundation of your spiritual journey, everything changes. You see yourself, others, and the universe in an entirely different light. True spirituality isn't about blind faith, it's about consciousness. It's about realizing that your thoughts, emotions, and energy shape reality. Religion often taught people to pray to an external source, hoping for intervention. But spirituality teaches that you are a co-creator with the universe. Billy Carson explains that through practices like meditation, breathwork, and raising your vibrational frequency, you unlock dormant potential within your DNA. This potential was deliberately hidden by institutions that profited from dependence. Imagine if humanity fully understood its collective consciousness. Wars, poverty, and suffering would diminish because people would realize they have the power to manifest change. Religion often distracts from this truth, keeping people focused on rituals instead of self-empowerment. But when you awaken spiritually, you discover that heaven is not a place you go after death. It's a state of consciousness you create here and now. That realization is both liberating and revolutionary. So, how do you break free from the lies and reclaim true spirituality? It starts with questioning everything you've been told. Seek knowledge beyond traditional doctrines. Study ancient wisdom, explore metaphysics, and connect with your higher self. Billy Carson often emphasizes the importance of daily spiritual practices: meditation, journaling, energy healing, and grounding with nature. These practices reconnect you with universal consciousness and help you experience divinity directly without intermediaries. True spirituality isn't about memorizing scriptures. It's about embodying wisdom, living in alignment with love, and expanding your awareness. The path isn't always easy. It requires courage to step outside the comfort zone of tradition. But the reward is profound freedom, the realization that you are more powerful, more divine, and more connected than you were ever led to believe. Religion may have lied, but the truth of spirituality has always been within you, waiting to be awakened. Mainstream religion often dismisses or ignores the spiritual sophistication of ancient civilizations. The Sumerians, Egyptians, Mayans, and others left behind evidence of advanced knowledge, astronomy, sacred geometry, and multidimensional cosmology. Billy Carson highlights how these ancient societies understood humanity's connection to the stars and encoded universal truths into their temples, pyramids, and sacred writings. Instead of celebrating this wisdom, organized religions often labeled it as pagan or idolatry, stripping away its essence. Why? Because if people tapped into this universal knowledge, they wouldn't be so easily controlled. True spirituality doesn't erase the past, it honors it. By studying the ancients, we reconnect with truths about frequency, energy fields, and cosmic alignment, knowledge far ahead of its time. Religion taught us to fear these sciences, while spirituality invites us to embrace them. This suppression of ancient wisdom is one of the greatest lies ever told. Reclaiming it not only deepens our spiritual journey, but also empowers us to understand our true place in the cosmos. One of the most significant truths hidden by organized religion is the sacred role of the divine feminine. In countless ancient traditions, feminine energy was revered as the embodiment of creation, intuition, and balance. Goddesses symbolized wisdom, nurturing, and cosmic power. Yet, as patriarchal systems took control, the divine feminine was demonized, diminished, or erased. Billy Carson often points out that by stripping away the balance between masculine and feminine energies, religion left humanity spiritually incomplete. True spirituality acknowledges both forces, yin and yang, creation and action, intuition and logic. The suppression of the divine feminine disconnected people from the natural cycles of the earth and from the intuitive power within. When we restore this balance, we begin to see that spirituality is not about dominance, but harmony. Embracing the divine feminine allows us to heal, to reconnect with the earth, and to awaken to a higher state of love and wholeness that dogma tried to bury. Religions across the world emphasize rituals, ceremonies, fasting, confessions, and repetitive prayers. While rituals can have meaning, they often become mechanical acts performed out of obligation or fear. Billy Carson reminds us that rituals were never meant to replace true connection with the divine. Real spirituality is not about how many times you bow, fast, or recite words. It's about the frequency you carry, the love you express, and the consciousness you cultivate. When rituals are stripped of intention, they become distractions from true awakening. Spirituality encourages authentic practices like meditation, energy alignment, and heart-centered living, which raise your vibration and open the channel to higher consciousness. Religion often made people believe that skipping rituals meant displeasing God.
But the truth is that the universe responds to your energy, not empty repetition. Real connection is about inner alignment, not external performance. Once you shift from ritual to authentic spiritual practice, you begin to experience freedom and presence on a much deeper level. One of the most powerful tools of control has been the manipulation of afterlife beliefs. Religions often taught that salvation or eternal peace could only be accessed by obedience to their doctrines. Fear of hell, purgatory, or damnation kept people bound to the system. Billy Carson emphasizes that this was a deliberate distortion. Ancient spiritual traditions taught that the afterlife was simply a transition, a continuation of consciousness, shaped by your vibrational frequency. Instead of cultivating fear, they focused on preparing the soul for higher dimensions of existence. True spirituality reminds us that heaven and hell are not external places, but states of consciousness we experience within and beyond this life. When you vibrate with love, gratitude, and awareness, you ascend naturally to higher realms. By reclaiming this truth, you dissolve the fear-based control that religion wove into humanity's psyche. The afterlife is not punishment, it's expansion, and the key lies in how you live and elevate your consciousness now. Everything in the universe operates on frequency and vibration, a truth known to ancient cultures but hidden by mainstream religion. Billy Carson often explains that the universe communicates through energy. Thoughts, emotions, and intentions all vibrate at measurable frequencies. Religion rarely discusses this. Instead, it relies on dogma and fear to guide behavior. True spirituality, however, recognizes that raising your frequency through love, meditation, sound, and awareness creates alignment with the universe. Sacred chants, mantras, and music from ancient traditions were tools for frequency elevation, not empty rituals. Religion turned many of these into rigid practices without explaining the science behind them. The truth is, when you understand vibration, you realize your power to shift your reality, attract abundance, and heal. The lie was that you needed external permission to connect with the divine. The truth is that you are frequency, you are vibration, and your state of being determines your connection with higher consciousness. Spirituality is not just belief, it's an inner technology. Billy Carson describes how ancient wisdom held keys to unlocking the latent powers of the human mind and body. Practices like meditation, breathwork, and visualization activate parts of the brain that mainstream religion often ignored or condemned. Instead of teaching people to discover their own potential, religions directed them outward, to priests, to rituals, to authority figures. True spirituality flips the script. It teaches that your body is a temple, your mind a portal, and your heart the generator of divine energy. Science now confirms what ancient mystics already knew. Human consciousness can influence matter, heal the body, and expand perception. The suppression of this truth allowed institutions to maintain power over the masses. When you realize spirituality is a system of inner tools, not external rules, you unlock the ability to self-heal, manifest, and connect to dimensions beyond the physical. Religion discouraged this self-discovery because it threatened their control. But today, with knowledge returning, we see spirituality as a powerful technology designed to liberate, not confine. Religion often frames prayer as the primary way to communicate with the divine. While prayer has value, it is usually external, asking, pleading, or praising. Meditation, however, is the practice of going inward, silencing the noise, and tuning in to higher consciousness. Billy Carson emphasizes meditation as the gateway to accessing cosmic knowledge, intuition, and universal alignment. Ancient traditions used meditation not just for peace, but as a technology to travel dimensions, expand awareness, and connect with higher beings. Religion, on the other hand, often discouraged meditation, labeling it as unorthodox or even dangerous. Why? Because meditation leads to direct connection, bypassing external authority. Through meditation, you experience the divine presence within, eliminating the need for intermediaries. True spirituality places meditation at the center of practice because it proves that the divine is not out there, but within you. By cultivating stillness and focus, you open portals to inner wisdom that organized religion worked hard to keep hidden. One of the greatest lies perpetuated by religion is that science and spirituality are at odds.
Billy Carson explains that the ancients never separated the two. For them, science was the study of the universe, and spirituality was the experience of it. They were inseparable. Religion often painted science as heresy, condemning anyone who explored beyond the accepted dogma. Yet, modern discoveries in quantum physics, energy fields, and consciousness affirm what spiritual traditions have taught for millennia. Everything is energy, interconnected, and influenced by thought.
True spirituality embraces science because it provides evidence of higher truths. Whether it's the measurable effects of meditation on the brain or the resonance of frequencies in healing, science validates what was once dismissed as mystical. The lie was convincing humanity that spirituality was irrational and science alone held authority. The truth is that the most powerful awakening happens when science and spirituality work together, bridging logic with the unseen. Religions often frame humanity as fallen, sinful beings in need of salvation. But ancient texts and alternative research suggest something different. Our origins are cosmic. Billy Carson points to evidence in the Sumerian tablets, Egyptian hieroglyphs, and global myths that describe advanced beings interacting with early humans. These accounts hint that humanity's creation and evolution were far more complex than religious narratives allow. Instead of original sin, we inherit original potential, DNA embedded with multi-dimensional capacity. Religion minimized this, keeping people focused on guilt and redemption, rather than their true cosmic inheritance. Spirituality teaches that we are star beings, connected not only to Earth, but to the universe itself. This perspective changes everything. Instead of small, flawed creatures, we are eternal souls having a human experience, capable of extraordinary awareness. The lie was that we are broken. The truth is that we are multidimensional beings, and remembering this awakens the power we've always had. Religion often emphasizes scripture and spoken prayers, but it rarely explains why words matter. Billy Carson highlights that words are not just communication, they are frequency, vibration, and energy. Ancient traditions understood this and used chants, mantras, and affirmations as tools to shape reality. Religion reduced this to memorized prayers without teaching the true science behind them. Spirituality reveals that your thoughts and words are creative forces. When you speak with intention, you emit vibrations that influence your body, your environment, and even the quantum field. Negative words and beliefs lower your frequency, while positive affirmations elevate it. The truth hidden from humanity is that we are constantly manifesting through thought and speech. The lie was that only sacred texts or approved prayers carried power. In reality, every word you speak, every thought you nurture, is shaping your reality. Reclaiming this awareness allows you to use language as a tool for healing, creation, and alignment. Religions often talk about the body as weak, sinful, or corruptible. But true spirituality teaches that the body is a sacred vessel, designed for divine experience. Billy Carson emphasizes that ancient traditions treated the body as a temple, aligning diet, movement, and energy practices to optimize spiritual connection. Practices like yoga, tai chi, and breathwork were designed to harmonize body and spirit. Religion, however, often shamed the body, framing physical desires as sinful and natural processes as impure. This disconnection weakened humanity's understanding of its divine biology. True spirituality restores this sacred relationship, reminding us that the body is not an obstacle, but a gateway. When cared for through conscious living, the body becomes a powerful instrument of awakening. The lie was that the body was a burden. The truth is, the body is divine technology, and honoring it unlocks deeper spiritual experiences. Religion often dismisses dreams as meaningless or restricts their interpretation to prophetic visions controlled by doctrine. Yet, ancient cultures saw dreams as sacred portals to other dimensions of consciousness. Billy Carson describes dreams as doorways to the subconscious, higher realms, and even communication with advanced beings. True spirituality teaches that in dreams, the soul explores realities beyond the physical, receives guidance, and integrates hidden wisdom. Religion stripped this away, narrowing dreams into rigid categories or demonizing them altogether. Spiritual practice encourages dream journaling, lucid dreaming, and using dreams as tools for self-discovery. When you pay attention to dreams, you uncover symbolic messages, solve problems, and expand awareness beyond waking life. The truth hidden from humanity is that dreams are not random, they are coded with meaning, revealing the multidimensional nature of existence. Religion lied by reducing them to superstition. Spirituality reveals them as gateways to cosmic wisdom. Religions often shifted focus away from nature, encouraging worship inside buildings and temples instead. Yet true spirituality recognizes nature as the ultimate temple. Billy Carson often emphasizes that ancient civilizations aligned with the Earth's cycles, using solstices, equinoxes, and natural energy fields for spiritual practices. The lie was convincing people that the divine could only be accessed through institutions. The truth is that the divine speaks through rivers, mountains, forests, and the stars. Spending time in nature restores balance, raises vibration, and reconnects us to universal consciousness. Religion often distanced people from this, focusing instead on walls, rituals, and man-made structures. Spirituality reminds us that grounding with the earth, walking barefoot, observing the sky, and honoring natural rhythms are powerful ways to reconnect.